USA and Canada asserted their dominance in day 2 of the men's Olympic hockey tournament.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Friday, February 13th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, and it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at Monoman12. That is Nich Fairbanks joining me on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. And shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. So, Panther fans, Olympic hockey fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers and for these next few weeks, the Olympics here. And today on the show, we are going to discuss the dominance for USA and Canada in their opening campaigns for the 2026 Winter Olympic Games. As both of them were victorious in their games. The Florida Panthers players who participated in the games were impactful on the winning side. And then we are going to preview the weekend to come, as by the time we speak to you guys on Monday, the tournament, the preliminary round will be wrapped up. But Nich, welcome back to the show. And man, another exciting day of hockey, just all day. The fact that these players are back and the fact that we saw, the North American teams get in on the action tonight. So very thankful to be breaking this down with you, my friend.
No, it's a pleasure to be here. I think it's first Olympics for me, at least. I know you've been around a little bit longer than I have in this respect, but no, I mean, you have your top two favorites. I mean, Canada's obviously the favorite, but coming out and just dominating and showing that they are the class out of all the teams. You had a couple scares yesterday. I'll call it entertaining scares, but nonetheless, I don't think that there was any question that, Canada and the United States were going to walk out with losses here. So great start for both. And again, they imposed their will pretty well.
Yeah, especially Canada, where for them, it was really all four lines for them going in this game. I mean, Connor McDavid played like a man possessed in this one. And I mean, coming out with 3 assists, but playing on the line with Macklin Celebrini and Tom Wilson. And also both of those guys were really showing their physicality. I mean, there was one shift where Tom Wilson got Radko Gudas and he was like a little shaken up after one of the shifts there. But I mean, to think that Lucas Dostal was holding his own there, and then what happens right in front of the net? Macklin Celebrini is there to redirect it. Dostal was complaining about how it might have been over the crossbar for a high stick, but seeing the replay, I thought that it was the right call there. But then that really started to have the Canadians like break it open after that, where the shots are equal 11-11 after that, and then right in the first in the first 6 minutes, they also score again. And one trend that was very common in this one was just putting familiar pairs. I mean, we know that Makar and Taves were going to be a duo together. Marner and Mark Stone were a group together. And then because of the 13th forward, it allowed a little bit of experimentation for these lines. And then we saw the all Florida line as far as the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers with Brandon Hagel with Sam Reinhart and Brad Marchand, and then mixing in Bo Horvat there, having an all Florida line as well, which was fun to see for multiple shifts. Even though they had limited minutes, obviously maybe Reinhart's sheltered minutes has a lot to do with the injury that he's facing, but he's also getting power play 1 minutes as well, which he got a shot on that first power play for Canada. So it was a little mix of everything when it came to every line getting involved there, which Brad Marchand, he connected on a stretch pass to Bo Horvat earlier, but they didn't necessarily connect on a goal. But eventually, they were able to get one through there. That was at the time to make it 3-0 Canada. And I mean, getting that insurance, and then 3 minutes right before the second intermission, very important goal for Canada at the time.
Yeah, it definitely was, and you are saying exactly why Macklin Celebrini should have been on this team, and there was no doubt he is dazzled and impressed while he's with the Sharks. He's taking it to another level now. You obviously see, Connor McDavid doing Connor McDavid things. You can't say enough about what he does for the game, and then you still have Sidney Crosby, who
Yeah.
uh, he looks like he's still 22, 23 years old playing out there. So Canada has all the parts, all the pieces that you would need to manufacture a gold medal team. But, they didn't score until 6 seconds left, I believe, in the game, in the first period, sorry. And it took a deflection, as you said, and it was highly questionable. Don't tell the United States that, though. So I will say, the fact that they have four lines and including an extra forward that can do anything, that's scary. But it
Mhm.
does kind of remind me of a team that does play at Sunrise when they're on their game. So you see a
Yeah.
lot of similarities there.
And then coming out with big saves, I mean, there's a few saves that I could note to Jordan Binnington, and I mean, there's also a discussion after the game about Jordan Binnington visiting the Tampa Bay Lightning's hotel
Mhm.
when John Cooper came to town, and discussing about how much confidence there was in him, knowing that he was going to be the starter. And I saw the quote of this. I didn't see the video. I do want to see the video of John Cooper's answers. Like, when did you decide to put to decide that Jordan Binnington was going to be your starter? He's like, I don't know, 355 days ago. I could just picture the tone of voice that John Cooper would use based on that answer. But one of the big saves that Jordan Binnington had right before Celebrini scored was right off a face-off win for Czechia, and then Kempny had a shot, and then David Kemp was there on the follow where he had the glove right on the ice. He was laying right on his side there, and then right when it was 2-0, an opportunity for Czechia to make it 2-1, like a big stop on David Pastrnak, which was his one and only shot of the game. They really truly limited David Pastrnak, and he's the best player on their team. So the fact that Canada was able to roll the four lines, and especially because the forecheck for them was going, and their ability to just gain the zone, and it was every single line there, it really allowed them to really focus on the Pasternaks, the Natchuses of the world when they were on. So, I mean, versus when you're on the opposite side for Czechia, if it's not Connor McDavid, it's Sidney Crosby. So if it's not Sidney Crosby, it's Nathan McKinnon. If it's not, it's an embarrassment of riches that they have, and that's why they are the favorite.
No, they definitely are. And, I you're just seeing the difference when it comes to the best hockey players in the world being inserted into the Olympics. I mean, I'm going to give Finland a break. I mean, they played in a very good game. That goalie, holy crap, basically won them that game. But
Lava.
yeah, but I will say this: the distinction between the leagues and the Olympics and everything. Um, I love European hockey and everything. I do like watching some of the games over there, but it's just the skill difference, the team cohesion, and everything is just on another level. Um, I don't know if this is quite true. I'm pretty sure Canada did this last time, but they're not really in the Olympic Village at all. I
Yeah,
think they have
true.
their
That
own
is true.
area down there. I'm not sure if they stole that from the German soccer team when they Braziled Brazil. Um, but I think it's more or less to keep the guys focused, get them away from all the distractions and everything. And I understand that, but also this may be the only one that you're going to play, and you want to experience, everything there. But obviously, Canada has different ideas, and they want to make sure that the world knows that they're still the best hockey team.
I mean, and look at how Canada scored. None of their goals that they scored were from distance. All of them were the same: getting to the blue paint, battling out, gaining speed, and then getting rebound opportunities. And really, all of them were around the crease, where Lucas Dostal was under siege there
Mhm.
for his game there. And it's just like, it doesn't necessarily speak volumes on how spread out the Czechia was in this one, but at the same time, they just couldn't handle. But also, Nick, it's crazy because I mentioned top players, and that power play that was beautifully set up from Connor McDavid to Nathan McKinnon on that sauce through the crease.
Mhm.
Only 12 seconds into that power play that they scored, it was quite the thing of beauty. there. But if I told you that the pair of Drew Doughty and Thomas Harley played more minutes than Taze and Makar, would you believe me?
Definitely not. Not in any universe. So we must be living in some universe right now. So I mean, the times do dictate that. But no, I mean, you want to go with the younger guys. You want to go with the guys that can skate and everything. But you know, maybe Cooper's giving these guys a last hurrah because we know Dottie's probably going to be done here the next few years and everything. So, why not?
Yeah, and with a big lead, that definitely helps, especially because it didn't take them a little too late to break the game open. So it really allowed those guys to get some of that ice time for them. So just the fact that they were able to come in waves, especially. I mean, I you know, he may be a Vegas Golden Knight and he may be a Canadian hockey player, but Mark Stonesellies, I live to watch those. Those are just so much fun, especially when it was his own teammate in Mitch Marner for his club team to set him up there. And also, once again, very exciting to see Brad Marchand really uh, setting up Bo Horvat there when I mentioned earlier that they misconnected. And to like I said, it's crazy because one thing that I had in common between the USA and Canada games, goals that were disallowed, and the fact that the Suzuki's penalty had an opportunity to kind of switch the momentum, but Canada didn't allow it. This is just an absolute focused group here. So you got to give a lot of credit to them on how just locked in they were here. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss USA's win over Latvia in the final game of the night, and some brothers were impactful here. So we're going to discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And the winter games are officially here. And if you're anything like us, you're locking into 4 events you can only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. That's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected on the action. The drama of curling matches to that start slow and somehow get intense fast. Speed skating races decided by inches. Hockey games that feel different right from the opening faceoff. Every niche event becomes must watch when you're fully locked into the competition. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Also, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. And there's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, energy, moment, getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. Pull up the Game Time app, pick an upcoming NBA game, and have tickets locked in within minutes. Love seeing the all-in prices up front, no surprise fees at checkout, and being able to see the view from the seat before making the purchase is easy. And take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Friday. And on the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, Locked On. If you haven't already, make sure to check out our Every Dare Club. It's an ad-free audio feed for the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, compatible with Apple, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. It's an invite to also the Locked On Every Dare Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. So continuing on this conversation of the day 2 of the men's Olympic hockey tournament. And we're going to discuss USA, where Matthew Tkachuk of the Florida Panthers took on Uvis Balinskis and Sandis Vilmanis in against Latvia, where USA was victorious by a final score of 5-1. And this was a 1-1 game for the USA here, and it took a little bit for the United States to break through. And we thought multiple times in this one that they were taking multiple leads, but multiple challenges by Latvia that had goals disallowed, one on an offside from Brock Nelson, and then a goalie interference from JT Miller. So, but the great thing is that Brock Nelson got to score 2 goals after that, and almost got a third one that rang off the post. So it felt like poetic justice for Brock Nelson there, who has an uncle, Dave Christian, who was actually on that 1980 Miracle on Ice team, who actually assisted on the second goal of the game to tie the game at 2 against the Soviets back in Lake Placid. And for this one, let's also start with Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, who got the first goal of the game. Matthew Tkachuk assisting to Brady, and then the commentators there, which is the TNT crew, basically for NBC, which they used to be on NBC, and it was nice hearing that music again from those times. Zach Werenski faking a circle, circling back, and then fooling them on a line change, and then stretching it to Matthew Tkachuk, and then Brady open right up the gut off puck, and then being able to ring it off the post and in there, and then just setting the tone, just like how they did in their opening game against Finland back in the Four Nations, and then just saw the replay again from last year, and then just relating it to this year. I mean, not only am I happy for the Tkachuk brothers, but you can only imagine what Keith Tkachuk and Chantel are going through. Just the fact that they dreamed about their whole lives, and less than 6 minutes in, they get that first one for the USA.
Yeah, so I believe it was Brady who also scored the first United States goal in the four last year. So there's something there. I think Brady, I think, is going to be the coal, that gets put into a steam engine, and Matthew's going to actually be the engine, kind of like embodying what the team is going to be about. But it's funny, getting 2 goals called off in the Olympics to me is like really, like, you're going to call that ticky-tack stuff. And then I remember how many times the Panthers had probably benefited from things like that. So everything's okay. But I will say this, the United States came out slow.
Yeah.
I know they scored 6 minutes in, but after that, like, Latvia actually did push back pretty well, and they ended up scoring. So it's like, what's going on? Is this going to be another upset? Kind of like what we saw with Finland. And, I think the United States did very well to respond. They finally got their feet under them, and they made sure that they basically took control of the game from here on out. So, with the stats, Brock Nelson, as you said, with 2 goals, he should have had 3, 4, 5, maybe. What a pickup he's been for the Avalanche too, because a lot of people for that trade were like, I think they gave up way too much, and look what he's doing now. Mm-hmm. So can't say enough about what he's doing. And then that one play, and what play I'm talking about, the one that Jack Hughes has the puck. I think he slides it back. I think it was to Trocheck, I believe. And then it goes back to Brock Nelson with a wide open net with everybody just staring at the puck. It's like
2 men going to and leaving the slot open.
Yeah. So the most beautiful wizardry you're probably ever going to see. That's really how the coach probably draws it up and what he's envisioning. So glad to see that they have that. Hopefully, if they are going to meet Canada for the gold or whenever in this tournament, they can still do that, but they're going to have to bring their lunch pail because, as you said, Canada's goals were in the rough areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At least the USA was able to at least get some screens in front and take away the eyes of the goaltender, so that at least that's a plus when it comes to that. And Jack Hughes also faced a lot of criticism last year for how he performed in the Four Nations, and also the fact that he didn't finish the first half of the season for New Jersey, and then he's got all of a sudden in games for them for USA. He gets 2 assists on the night. Quinn Hughes also got 1, so another pair of brothers who got, and also it was I didn't mention that it was Quinn Hughes's goal that was the one that was taken off on that goalie interference, so he could have gotten and won, as it was like a nice feed from the blue line, a little bit of a low to high play there. But again, the USA breaking this open, 3 goals. Not only that, but 17-2 shot advantage in the second period, and also Latvia had 9 shots total in the first 20 minutes, and then they got 9 total in the final 40. So the fact that that I was about to say the Panthers, but the fact that USA was able to at least control that and keep Connor Hellebuck clean, and the only goal that Hellebuck clean that was beat on was a mad scramble in the slot, and then they scored to make it 1-1 there. But other than that, he was able to see pucks very, very well there. And I mean, and Latvia here, they're playing the long game with and I didn't have their schedule memorized on the top of my head. It's like, okay, why is Artur Shilov's in? And then I looked up the schedule for Latvia. I'm like, okay, off tomorrow, and then a back-to-back on Saturday and Sunday there. So I kind of get the decision why to put him there in the third period, and also kind of see what you got there for this one, as Merzlikins was under siege here. There, I mean, plus 15 in the shot department, and then USA added on, and then also a little bit of confidence for Austin Matthews, as he got a lot of heat for leaving McDavid open in the slot for that Four Nations winner, and then he gets scoring on the power play. But I've also come to appreciate so much of what Jack Eichel brings to the table. My goodness, was he winning so many of those key draws for those and setting up, and then being that guy on the goal line, kind of like what Tkachuk plays, but that's more like Jack Eichel's role when it comes to the international competition, while Tkachuk is more playing on the flank. So they kind of Tkachuk's playing like a different role on that man advantage. But man, was Jack Eichel impactful in this one?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, like Brock Nelson, got to change the scenery and got what he needed to get healthy. And look at him now. He's one of the premier players. He's got a cup under his belt. I'm not going to say who they played, but I think that a world of difference in his game, and he looks like the player that he was expected to be. I don't really see the attitude, I guess, issues that he might have had while he was in Buffalo. He seems like a more confident, more relaxed guy now. But he's here to win. Let's, they're all here to win and, put their mark on it. I'm probably one of many that was not happy with the Matthews choice for captain. I understand, like, he's the young phenom, he's the young star, but listen, you got to win something, you got to prove something. You can't just slap a C on. Like, Yuri's only got it because he was a hard worker. It wasn't because he was the best player. All right, it means something to be a captain. So I maybe don't understand quite as much, and maybe I should read more into it. But that's just my overall impression. And then finally, do you know what Uvis Blinket's middle name is?
I actually don't know. This on the site, it says J
Yes.
here. So
it's Uvis Janis Belinkis. So quite the unique name. He did finish at a +1, and he had 2 shots on goal. So I honestly think,
minutes.
Yep, and I honestly think for getting thudded, 5-1, he fared pretty well. So maybe more to come, please.
Yeah. And Uvis was playing on that top power play unit, although when the Latvia did go on the power play on their first one, they actually put their second unit on because they were already on the ice. So that's if you guys were wondering why it wasn't his unit immediately, got multiple block shots. I saw him getting the sticks in the lanes as well, and also played 24 minutes. Also, one thing that surfaced on the internet after the game, Charlie McAvoy and Sandis Vilmanis were shaking hands after the game and talking. It looks like that Sandis Vilmanis went up to him and apologized about what happened last week. And you know what? That's great to see. Yes, I thought that was a 5-minute major last week, but it's great to see that he owned up to a mistake.
Yeah, and it's not like he did it on purpose. All right, like if you look at it, McAvoy had just gotten rid of the puck and he was losing his balance, and unfortunately, Vilmanis it was a reaction You know,
Mhm.
he was going in and he lifted his elbow up. I don't think he meant to contact him the way he did, but you know what? It's not the intent, it's what actually does happen.
Yep.
So I am glad that hopefully that's cleared up. Unless I don't know. I don't know if the Panthers play Boston the rest of the season or if that's it.
One more time in April.
Okay. So maybe they're just being civil now because it's the Olympics and it's all about bringing people together. Well, when it comes to the NHL, like, hey, dude, like you almost took my head off.
Yeah.
You got to
Who
pay for
knows?
that.
We shall see. But we're going to transition to segment number 3. We're going to discuss more about the other games that happen and discuss those real quickly, and then also preview the weekend ahead as we will wrap up the preliminary round of the men's Olympic tournament. We'll discuss that more next year on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo and New Year, New Systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there it is. Streamlining your communications is one of the biggest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communication. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies easier and more personal. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo has the #1 business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solo operators to growing teams. Make this year the year where no opportunity, no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off of your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonhl. That's quo.com/lockedonhl. Quo, no missed calls, no miss customers. Segment 3 here on this Friday, February 13th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Friday, a Fairbanks Friday edition of the show. So there are 2 other games on the docket for Thursday. There's the 6-10 game where Switzerland faced off against France. And truthfully, Nick, I need at least 3 alarms to get up in the morning, at least. And I was able to get up 15 minutes right before puck drop as I was snoozing the heck out of it. I'm an early morning person, but not that early. But I was able to finally get up. And you know what? As I was just ready to get my coffee and sit down, within the first 3 minutes, they scored two goals. Switzerland does. And I'm just thinking, am I allowed to go to bed? Go back, just get up for the 10 o'clock game there. But listen, credit to Switzerland for it and their goaltender, Leonardo Giannoni. That's his 3rd Olympic Games that he's playing. 38 years old, and against a 21-year-old 7th round pick, Antoine Keller for France from Washington. Hasn't signed his contract yet, but a 7th round pick and performing at least trying to hold his own there. But then a 38-minute span where there's no goals from Switzerland, and then they break it open later on. And then the other one, which was the game that was going on simultaneously as the USA game, the Germany-Denmark game, which Leon Draisaitl scores in the first minute of the game and then assists on Timmy Stützle's power play goal. And obviously my attention was a little bit more on the USA game than it was this one. But when you look at the stats, Philip Grubauer, 37 saves on 38 shots, where Denmark had a majority of the shots there. And I'm not going to pretend like I know where all the shots came from, but I was very critical on Grubauer based on a little bit of his fall from grace after his tenure in Colorado and going to Seattle. But we were talking about this pre-recording about how Germany medaled in the 2018 Olympics. They've medaled only 3 times ever in the Olympic Games. And the fact that you have guys who are superstars on their team, although I would argue that they're more of a top-heavy group based on that. It's not an embarrassment of riches, but as far as their individual teams, they're impact stars. And I think that could really be the true dark horse in this tournament based on how they started.
So it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to start with the Germany game first. You're going to see Leon Draisaitl, and you're going to see what he's going to be able to bring to the table without Connor McDavid. A lot of people think that he's a top 5 player. It's interchangeable with McDavid. We're going to
Won a
see
Hart Trophy without him, with McDavid injured.
exactly. So we're definitely going to see on the world stage what he can do, and the fact that he scored 23 seconds in for Germany, I think says a lot. I think he's going to be the guy that's really going to pull them through. So you say dark horse. I could see them medaling. I could see them possibly getting a bronze because all these other teams right now that are playing. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Switzerland right now because they just beat the brakes off of France. Germany has the best shot, in my opinion, just because they have one of the best players in the world. They do have a good goaltender right now, and like it or not, they actually have a lot of NHLers. Like they have JJ Peterka, Lucas Reichel, Tobias Ryder, who used to be there, Nico Sturm, Florida Panther faithful. So they have some players, right? And they're up, and Germany might be the next country where teams are going to start looking to draft. I will give it to Detroit because they were one of the first ones to kind of get in there because they have Moritz Seider. So that guy's going to go a long way. But other than that, I mean, they have a fantastic team. But when you go over to Switzerland, our guy, Dennis Malgin, is still playing, and he's on the national team. So hats off to Denny Malgin. Thank you for for many years of service.
Yeah, and thanks to Dale Talon for trading him for Mason Marchment.
Say that to a Leafs fan 5 times and see how they react to that. But no, Switzerland looks like they're going to be a pretty hard out. They have some NHLers, but I don't know what France is doing. Their goaltender played pretty well by the looks of it. Like, we didn't see where the shots came from, but anytime that you're, saving upwards of maybe 40 shots and you only have 4 goals against in an Olympic game, you're doing pretty well. So I know that these weren't the most popular, sexy games. Listen, start watching Germany, and you're going to get a good feel for why this team is probably up and coming.
Yeah, and great for Timmy Stützle to at least maybe he plays a little bit of pool in his life, so getting that goal off of a skate from Denmark there to get it back in the back of the net to at least create some separation there. That was the 3-1 goal. And Timo Meier for Switzerland has struggled this season. New Jersey in general has struggled, but it's a confidence booster for him getting those 2 goals in the third period, the third and fourth goal for Team Switzerland in that game as well. So credit to them there. But let's talk about the games for this weekend. And these first games between all the teams in all 12 teams, none of them went to overtime. So all of them are 3 points that they got to nothing for the loser here. So pressure's on for some of these teams. Obviously pressure's on Finland going down 0-1. You have 2 teams who lost in their first games in France and Czechia facing off against each other on Friday as well. But then you have 2 1-0 teams in Canada and Switzerland. Winner is probably the winner of the group and will get a bye right there. And Canada's likely going to go to Logan Thompson, but if Seth Jarvis is going to go in, I wouldn't be surprised. And it's not performance based. I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Marchand is a scratch because he did not play in the back-to-back at the end of the Panthers right before the Olympic break. So it might be an opportunity for Brad Marchand to get a little bit of rest to at least not have the mileage add up to him. But I'm just spitballing on that one. But there's so many different storylines there just in Friday alone. I know USA will have the day off until Saturday, which the pressure's on Denmark to at least make something happen. But USA could also get their bye with the win as well. So not a lot of mixes of just not a little bit of too much mix of like 0-1 and 1-0 teams. Some of them are in fact 1-0 and 0-1. So it's a good mix of both.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be do or die for Finland. I mean, they have to win this game. And they were the better team in that game. I watched that game by far. They looked like the Florida Panthers relentlessly forechecking and having all these chances. Sometimes you just run into a hot goalie. It happens. But Sweden also looked pretty good in their game. I mean, I know it was off to a slow start and everything, but they put it together. Our guy, Bobby Orsling, puts one in the back of the net, gets them going. So that one's going to be probably the match to watch. Switzerland and Canada, that one is going to be very interesting because both teams are coming off of they played yesterday. So they're playing the back-to-back. We're going to see who has the legs and who can really muscle their way through, which possibly Canada, but don't count Switzerland out. They can probably maybe poke a goal or two through.
Yeah, and it's gonna be fun. Not only for the men's side of things, but there's gonna be a lot of simultaneous games going on Friday and Saturday, as the quarterfinals for the women's side of the bracket will actually begin on Friday. So if you have a 6-10 game for one, you're gonna have a 6-10 game on the other sheet of ice. So obviously the first game is two of the men's tournament, with Italy taking on Slovakia. Chances are my volume is going to be up for Finland, Sweden, more than likely, and then the France Czechia game and the Switzerland Canada game. Those will be one, while the ladies will also be on the other sheet. And then for Saturday, man, is it going to be fun, as the pressure will be on of the final games before, and then it wraps up on Sunday, and then we'll be back here on Monday to recap and see what the qualification rounds will look like, who will get the buys, and who will get up to at least 2 days off there.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, if you're in Group B, you might get 3 days off. So a hidden benefit there, right before the quarterfinals. So are you excited, Nick? Because I sure am.
I am. I'm actually doing a lot of stat looking at all the groups and everything. This is a very good Olympics, just based off the groups. I know that there's some teams that probably are in over their heads a little bit, but listen, you have a lot of good teams facing each other, and it's going to be the best hockey that we're going to see outside of the Stanley Cup final. It's just enjoy it. It's just fun, and you get to not only wear your country's pride on your shoulder and everything, but you're getting treated to seeing other teams across the world that you may not have known about, and you can start picking on players that, hey, they haven't been drafted, but they're on the national team. What's going on over there? So just go in and have fun. That's all we ask.
Yeah, and yeah, and on the women's side, one of the players that is bursting on the scene as far as a defensewoman, excuse me, Layla Edwards. She's definitely a superstar. And then Caroline Harvey there for as well. She's currently at the University of Wisconsin and gonna be the number 1 overall pick in the PWHL draft. So that's another name to look out for on Team USA. We'll see what the status of Marie-Philip Poulin will be on the ladies. So we'll see if she ends up playing in their quarterfinal game there. But if Canada is confident that they'll at least get her to the semifinal, maybe a little bit of rest is on going to be for that squad there, if they're confident, especially because they steamrolled Finland today 5-0. So but Nick, I want to thank you so much for joining me on another edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Tell everybody where they can follow you online, my friend.
Thanks for having me on. It's fun talking about the Olympics. Cooper, if you want to play the Panthers line, maybe 10 minutes a game, I'm 100% okay with that going into the last half of the season. So you know what? You do your thing, man. Appreciate it. But anyways, guys, you guys can follow me on X at Prudentia0. Let's have a fun weekend and go USA.
Absolutely. No doubt. Thank you so much, Nick, and see you next week.
See you next week.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Nich Fairbanks. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.